Do you recognize this image? Well, we spent the night at this actual place, and you will too, because in this video, we're How does this image make you feel? The components look somewhat familiar, apartment blocks, a courtyard, but something's off. The more you look, the stranger it becomes. It's seemingly a courtyard with some greenery, yet you notice that there's a ceiling, and very quickly you realize why the image feels so suffocating. There's not even access to the courtyard from what looks like the rooms. There's no doors. It's even being blocked off by some sanitized looking glass at the front. The whole environment feels synthetic. The soulless, repetitive flat windows, the obtrusively placed ventilation unit oddly disrupts the space, not to mention the strange black window in the top left, or the two figures in the far window with even more windows behind them next to a room tinged with dull orange light, reminiscent of the Backrooms to their left. The lighting feels dreary, like this area has existed for years, but at the same time it feels like fiction, like a prison that could slowly drain your soul just from being there. Yet to thousands upon thousands of people, it still feels familiar. Like you've been there. Like you've lived there. But all that's left is a fragment of a memory. Or at the very least, you've been a visitor in one of your dreams. This is a great example of a liminal space image. It's one of the most famous ones. But did you know that it really exists? In today's video, we'll explore real liminal spaces, staying overnight at famous ones like this one, and seeing if the feelings we get from them are the same in person as in the images, finding our own new, undiscovered liminal spaces, and trying to recreate common liminal spaces that other people have encountered. From shut down cinemas, unique cultural gems, highways out of use, and trying to get as far as we can into real backrooms, we can learn firsthand what makes liminal spaces feel the way they do, and what we can learn from them. Do they just radiate common memories, experiences and fears that we share? The imagination's transforming the unknown to create incredible fiction from passionate internet users? Or is there something more tangible and useful that we can take from this phenomenon? First up, we have the hotel we've just seen, which happens to be a real hotel in London, England. The 761 room hotel is found inside of Heathrow Airport, and has the honour of bearing the beautiful name Terminal 4 Holiday Inn, which opened in 2018. It was marketed as featuring the latest technology with an express cafe and bar and larger, cozier beds, boasting executive lounges and luxurious bedrooms, claiming state-of-the-art facilities. Definitely pointing towards a tech future aesthetic. ICA, the interior design firm behind this hotel, aimed for emphasis on comfort and functionality, though they don't even show this project on their portfolio. I think the end results after construction was probably just too liminal for them. This hotel even appears in Gary's mod horror maps and features as a cameo in various other backroom games.
I've always felt sort of a strange connection to this liminal space image in particular. And so much has changed on the channel and in my life and with who I am as a person since I explored it, that even though it was only about 1.5 years ago, I feel like almost a nostalgia for it. It just seems like such a distant memory.
But how will it compare in real life? We hopped on the 50-minute train to Heathrow Airport to find out. Our first liminal space of the video. Liminal spaces all share at least some of the qualities we mentioned when discussing this hotel image, but the specifics of what makes a space liminal is still not cemented. We need a checklist of things to consider and look for when visiting these places, so while we're stuck in this metal tube flying down a tunnel, let's explore the definitions of a liminal space and what makes them scary, as it tends to differ quite a lot every time I hear it. You've probably heard that statement alone multiple times, but I feel like there's still some more to explore, and for this video to have direction and to rank all the places we're visiting, we need to understand what we're looking for. The dictionary.com definition is either 1. A state or place characterized by being transitional or intermediate in some way. The emphasis on transition explains why hallways are so common in these liminal space images. They're literally transitional, places without any purpose other than to get out of that place, or from one place to another. And in many cases, these spaces hold the least amount of identity or humanity in a building. They can frequently be considered familiar and comparable to each other, as they are such a regular occurrence to encounter, yet also have potential to be the most unsettling parts of buildings. For example, if you're visiting a building for the first time and you get lost, it will often be in a winding corridor or staircase, where the building is less polished, where lighting becomes gritty, and sound becomes more muffled. Perhaps we associate those experiences of slight nervousness of being in the wrong place and isolated with strange hallways in general. It's a novel experience being in those situations because it is a new place, yet how many hallways have you been in that look similar or familiar to the one that you're lost in? Probably a few. That's a great start. The idea of being between two objectives or two rooms being recognized as a unique experience as its own term is comforting. It's a discernible human experience to have a shift in awareness and perception towards mindfulness or being present when stepping into a quiet and tranquil hallway after spending time in a busier or more relatively stressful environment. Feeling detached from the world for a brief moment, yet more in tune with it at the same time. Perhaps it's being away from socialization. Could that be why liminal spaces are often empty? More broadly, the second definition states any location that is unsettling, uncanny, or dreamlike. So let's quickly take a look at some of the most famous recognized liminal spaces. Things they have in common are strange and dim lighting, and familiar sights that are sometimes warped in some way, such as these seemingly over-complex stairs, or the combination of the two, such as this hotel room that also looks like a zoo enclosure. This is also a good specific example of what the disruption of the norm is that makes it uncanny a decent amount of the time. Trying to recreate something inherently natural or human, yet missing the mark in some way, similar to the uncanny valley effect. You might have noticed that with the courtyard in the hotel we're travelling to now, as well as other liminal spaces that you may have seen. It's meant to look like a communal outdoor space, yet it's inside, empty and soulless. It's a place that shelters many people, yet there's no apparent soul or humanity. Another remarkable example of this is this underground bunker that was built at the height of the Cold War and designed to look like a regular suburb, or this end-of-life care home. It just pushes that isolation even further. Then, there are examples of hallways and backrooms with strong themes of what we discussed as to why hallways or backrooms in general feel that way, paired with the disruption, the subversion of expectation, such as the material in this Seattle Public Library hallway, or this famous, yet in my opinion a bit corny, flooded subway tunnel image. Finally, we have nostalgia, which seems to be the most favourable when it comes to bringing people together in a shared experience in a more precise way than just the feeling of being somewhere you shouldn't be. That being said, that feeling shouldn't be understated, and many people argue that the lack of context, the lack of specificity, and the space for the fear of the unknown is what fuels the incredibly imaginative stories or creative artwork and interpretations from horror fans around liminal spaces. Anyway, the nostalgia plays on the idea of the transition between a lively environment and the opposite, similarly to the original definition of liminal spaces, only this time it's the contrast between a childhood environment and the emotions behind the experiences perceived within them, juxtaposed with the feeling of emptiness or experiencing those environments through a different lens. This comment from Killcode2 sums it up perfectly.
Imagine a classroom from your childhood. Surely, you are imagining it in the day, with sunlight spilling in through the windows, and kids shuffling to their desks. This is a state in which a classroom is most frequently seen and serves a purpose for. Now imagine sneaking into your school, late at night, and everything is empty. It's almost eerie seeing the same classroom at night in a totally different context. Suddenly, its usual purpose has been robbed and it's just a room, but not quite, because now it also feels strangely alien and enigmatic to you. A purposeless, otherworldly architecture. The next day, that room will be back to normal, in its default state. It is back to being a real classroom, but that middle phase it was in when you saw it in the night, it's a liminal phase, a state of transition. And often spaces like that carry eerie characteristics, such as being out of time and out of place. That's liminal spaces for you. The same could apply for an abandoned mall, an overgrown treehouse, or a swimming pool with all the water gone.
Take this image of a Blockbusters that's been shut down, for example. This picture of a children's play area taken at night when the mall is shut, or even this empty shopping mall captioned, "Visiting my childhood mall. It always had so many people." The sentiment being that it's an environment that's in a condition that it isn't usually, particularly if it's in a stage before it's either going back to normal or becoming something else. The aspect of nostalgia nicely pairs with the original liminal definition by associating these spaces as being stuck in time or adding extra familiarity of a distant memory. Of course, it can also be simplified to the basics of a visual of childhood which is happy and turning that wholesome, comforting memory into something bad or scary, essentially making you feel like the most basic human pleasures have been corrupted or taken from you. And lastly, for nostalgia, before we arrive at the hotel, seeing an environment through a different lens, particularly in childhood, could also be gesturing towards seeing the world differently after a stressful or traumatic event. Perhaps as a child, your friends associated a certain area with fun or laughter, but a kind of disruption or disturbance made you see that environment as tainted, or you start to see individual raw components and materials in an environment more for what they were, rather than the overall comprehensive atmosphere they were put there to create. This could be why certain liminal space tropes are often seen duplicated or replicated amongst weirdcore or traumacore images that you might see popping up on Pinterest. I have no idea if this is a suitable way of dealing with experiences in that vein, but it could explain how they got the association. Oh, would you look at that, just in time to get off the train. Just as we finish the checklist of what we're looking for and what we want to delve into when exploring these real liminal spaces. We've got dim light, nostalgia, literal liminal spaces, these intermediate areas like hallways, isolation, familiarity, subversion of expectation, uncanny valley, fear of the unknown or paranormal isolation, and a transition period. But I'm also super curious about the new things that we'll notice and experience, and ideas that we'll be drawn to as we explore these peculiar environments. In fact, even this station has some notable architecture that felt at least a little bit eerie. Look at this gigantic drop.
Liminal elevator, do you hear those sounds? It's haunted.
What are these holes?
What are those?
It's a big flute. And even though we were still one stop away from the hotel, weird things were already starting to happen.
This station is just so creepy. It just feels like there's nothing. Oris? What the f?
But we stayed strong until the next train pulled through, and we were just minutes away from reaching the Liminal Hotel. As it pulled to a stop, we were really excited to see what the entrance would be like. We were anticipating something pretty normal, so we were definitely not expecting what we actually came across. After getting off the train, you walk through a fairly standard underground tunnel to a lift, which brings you to the airport check-in, and behind a door with a dark interior is the hotel. I thought it looked pretty creepy for a cool shot, but nothing could have prepared us for what was actually behind it. Probably the least welcoming entrance to a hotel I've ever seen, but wow, was it perfect for this video.
Why does it feel like we're about to go on an aeroplane now? Out of everything.
The exact definition of liminal. The structure serves no purpose other than to connect the airport to the hotels, and it could not be more creepy. Military-like paneling with dusty grates, industrial beams, dim lighting, and tacky, soulless adverts that seem to go off into the distance indefinitely. If it wasn't already suffocating, blurred windows only give glimpses into the outside, and it was at this point I realized that we were actually suspended in air. After walking for what felt like quite a while, we walked past a few other hotels. Whoever planned this complex surely must have been aware about how absurd it is. Literally a series of tubes connecting multiple hotels together. So bizarre, yet the out-of-touch adverts were occupying that same space, promoting comfort, family, leisure, and even a personal touch with the cursive handwritten fonts.
It's like the most dystopian adverts ever. Lunch, the British way.
But eventually, we got far enough.
Okay, here we are. The Holiday Inn Express.
Our first liminal space that just so happened to be at Heathrow Airport, the Holiday Inn Hotel at Terminal 4.
It's probably the scariest entrance to a hotel I've ever seen. Definitely something that is not very welcoming, not very inviting, but the only thing we can do now is go and investigate it, so let's go.
And just around the corner was another strange surprise?
Very normal. This is exactly what every hotel's like. The green room, you know?
Why are airports and hotels like this? It's like they're trying to create the most freaky environment possible when trying to create something to seem modern or sophisticated. The only thing I can think of is that they choose the most unconventional things to make travelling seem more novel to appeal to you in the future. I wonder how many customers this glow stick escalator has called back though. Just before the lobby, there was this iconic British red telephone box to symbolise that you are in fact in the UK, despite being completely surrounded by metal tubes and green lights since you've landed as a tourist. We tried to get some cool shots of the walkway we just been down, which is quite impressive if I'm being honest. It looks really appealing and retro-futuristic from the outside, and the ambience with all the lights and the cool breeze was really refreshing until... We got told it was technically part of the airport and to stop filming. God, I felt so annoying to the workers. We literally just thought the tunnel looked cool. In any case, it's time to finally enter the hotel lobby. Wow, the area of the courtyard that we saw earlier was not hidden away at all. As soon as you walk through the doors, you're met with hundreds and hundreds of windows stretching in every direction, with eerie, off-putting blue lights filling up minimal amounts of the area, assumedly to represent it being nighttime. It was a maze of windows and passageways. I mean, just look at how disorienting this looks. Hotel lobbies are peculiar anyway, and this one definitely sums it up. Furniture placed around warm lighting, reaching for the air of high class or a premium experience, but ultimately feeling flat and off in a weird way. It's the exact feeling noted of the uncanny valley in Liminal Spaces. It's a recreation of a human environment rather than a natural one. It just doesn't feel right. It's too engineered, so clean and perfect. Here is the place where you shall rest in the lobby. Like, the workers were amazing and incredibly kind, but overall the design and execution of this hotel was just trying to appear luxurious, highbrow, modern and high status, but because I assume the budget was not there to support that, as with its design choices, it just feels fake, uncanny and hollow. And it's not like that was getting by any of the guests. All guests were just there because they kind of had to be for their travel plans. This isn't the type of hotel you book to go and relax on a leisure holiday. And while we're at it, aside from the transitionary space of the tunnel, this entire hotel reeks of the literal definition of liminal. I assume 90% of the people here are just here to sleep before or after their flight to go somewhere else. It's a transitional place by nature of being a hotel. People are only here on their way to somewhere else, and I'll touch on this more later, but the whole experience was in this transitional state. Next to no natural light left no indication of what time of day it was, workers were on shift for long hours that are irregular, and everything was super clean because it's a 24-hour travel hotel. The whole period is a transitional period. It's constantly being cleaned, staff constantly rotating. The only thing that changes is the lighting in the courtyard. It was well kept, sure, but like I said, there was no character to anything, no humanity or charm. It felt overly sanitized and synthetic, honestly feeling more like a hospital than a hotel. The staff were very nice though, and soon enough we were checked into room 391. When I booked the ticket on the phone, I asked specifically for a room facing the courtyard.
So we're on our floor, and we asked for a room that looks out onto the courtyard that is in the iconic image. But they didn't know if it was going to be possible, so let's see if we got exactly what we wanted. I mean, this walkway is insane, and already there is the Liminal Space, the indoor courtyard. Why is there a roof on the courtyard, you know? So weird. You can see a strange bar down below, but an infinite number of rooms truly everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. But let's see if our bedroom window view is the exact same, and we can lean out and replicate the image.
It was definitely a surreal feeling to see the exact iconic image in real life, and for it to be the exact same. You would expect the lighting to be a little different in person, but it looked the same through the human eye as it does in the picture. And I'm not gonna lie, I was not scared of any entities jumping out or anything paranormal happening, but there was a weird feeling in this hotel. Hotels do have strange atmospheres, especially chain airport travel hotels like this one, but the architecture, lighting, and overall aesthetics of this place felt like I was quite literally walking around a liminal space. The ambience was off-putting. The only thing missing was that isolated feeling. Despite people being around more than occasionally, it did feel somewhat isolating. I mean, the claustrophobic feeling was definitely there, and looking in the exact direction of the original image did give me a noticeable ominous feeling. Actually existing in the iconic space when there are all these people around though definitely does detract from the image a little. It does remove some of the mystery, and the fear of the unknown very quickly becomes contextualized into the real world. That being said, the closed roof and pseudo-homeliness of it all felt like a mismatch of a lot of things together. Take this bar for example, which is directly under all the rooms. It feels like a segment of the Garry's Mod map Places from Your Dreams, where different completely separate locations stitch together in really uncanny ways, which definitely plays into getting familiar environments and disrupting that with something odd. In this case, the creepy-ass atrium. I realise the reason for this now though. It's because no hotel room can not have a window without the hotel having to charge very cheap prices. So they create this weird fake outdoors courtyard atrium so that all rooms can have windows, even if that window doesn't actually reach the outside world. There is definitely a reason that image gained such popularity, almost surely significantly due to the real environment it was taken in. This place is straight up weird, and the picture perfectly captures the essence of that. There are no hidden effects, no filters or anything. In fact, those two people in the window, those are actually reflections. Those two people in the window were the people who took the picture. But we still need to find out what that black box is in the top left.
Very, very weird.
Very liminal.
Yeah, indeed.
Explore the rest of the hotel, try and get onto the courtyard itself, and of course, check out the room. Let's do that now.
We should get a tricycle to ride down this.
Come play TF2 with us, Danny.
Boom. Did you guys feel that? Did you get chills? I feel like there's an entity down here somewhere.
Well, the other one was like, this is much slimmer than before.
Like, look at the way the perspective changed here. I don't know if that's coming up on camera, but the hallways just seem like they go on forever.
Yep, what an astute observation, Mr. Oris. The hallways did seem to go on forever, and the repetition was a little spooky. It was quite disorienting because every time you left the room, it always felt like it took a slightly different time to get to the lobby. But I can't lie and say that it was super different from other hotels, aside from the sheer length of the corridors.
Oh, they didn't give us the... We asked specifically for that.
Let's see what it's like inside.
We can just see London. That's probably the most disappointing view ever. Look at this.
You got a view of the tube.
Why does it look like a space thing? This looks like a movie set from a bad space movie. That chair, look at that. Like, it's the Among Us chair.
Oh my god, it literally is.
Ding, 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 ding,
What is this too?
What is that? Whoa! Sick.
I think the picture was actually taken from the balcony and the old room window,
True.
because the angle seems to match perfectly as with the balcony on the floor we're on, which is really, really lucky. So let's go.
But will we be able to get onto the courtyard?
It smells weird in here.
It does smell weird. I've seen lots of images of people who say that liminal spaces smell like varnish, especially the British ones that we were looking at earlier. This doesn't smell like varnish, it just smells like cleaning product. But this is the floor where hopefully we can get a better view of that patio area, the courtyard.
Oh, yeah.
How quickly do you think we'll get kicked out if I try and run on there?
You know what? We should like just ask them.
Yes, we should.
I think we should.
Let's do it. The only thing they can do is say no.
I mean, yeah, and they might, but
Wait, there's a gate. There's a gate.
no, wait, no. You're just allowed to go there. No.
I think they might open it in the morning. So we might be able to wake up and go, but let's go ask now. There's also this other gate here, which leads to this tiny glass enclosure. I don't know what this is for, pretty creepy. Trapping the entities. It's probably like a force field around it, I can't seem to... They need something to get rid of the entities to scare them away. Luckily I found the anti-ghost machine.
Oh my god, I want ice cube.
We decided to explore some more of the hotel, just going down random staircases and hallways to see what other liminal spaces or interesting things we could find in the Terminal 4 Holiday Inn.
Oh, what is this? Odds on I drink this, 1 to 10.
Wait, there's something in it?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Odds on 1 to 10. If we say the same number, I'll drink it.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, 4. It seems like they don't want us exploring this liminal space. There is just darkness through here. Until there's not.
Crazy.
Where is this? We're literally just trying to find the lobby. And it goes further down and down and down.
What's that liminal thing? Did you see it?
Well, the black thing.
Yeah, what was it called? Let me get...
The first floor We found a staircase going down, but it just goes down. And, oh my god! Oh my god! The lights are just... The lights haven't turned on.
Okay, wait.
Can this turn on? Let me turn my flashlight on. What the hell?
Yeah, turn that flashlight on.
The lights just aren't turning back on.
God.
What the hell?
This is a liminal freaking hotel. I can't see anything.
Oh, thank god. Okay, yeah, we are on -1.
-1.
Why does it go to -2? What's down here? That was so fun. Oh, it's the radiator entity. Oh.
What the?
There's just like a little rug by itself. The umbrella man over here. It's like a Nike tag. I'm literally just looking at trash now. This is crazy. What is on -2? Oh, it's just a car park, but I guess that's good.
Is it a liminal car park? No, it's just a normal car park.
Just a normal car park. Who would have thought? I guess let's go back. Try and ask if we can get onto the courtyard.
We found some black sludge that an indescribable entity must have left behind.
I don't know if you see that, but there's like a big splatter here as well of black goo. And the black goo drips down onto here. Can you see that on the camera?
Wait, what? I thought you were making up like a joke.
No,
oh my god, you're being for real.
like an entity is being killed here.
You can't really see it on the wall. Yeah, if I get in real close.
What could that actually be like? No drinks of that colour. Like, I'm trying to think what the actual explanation is, but did someone just throw petrol at the wall?
Or like a glass of olives, black olives.
Or is this hotel really cursed?
After a while, our sanity must have dwindled, because I kept getting strange flashes of memories that I can't quite put my finger on.
What's that beeping noise? It's probably nothing. Oris?
Going around the quieter hallways was definitely more eerie, so when we came across a canteen which happened to be empty, we were curious about what might end up being there.
This,
I don't think we're...
yeah, I know, that's why I'm just keep. I don't think we're allowed to, but I'm just going to keep going. Oh, the hot dog machine.
We're just turning over.
The thing that makes it weird is that there's just no windows anywhere.
And just how plain everything is. It's like it was made in Blender or something. Plastic everything, no texture, no windows, flat lighting. But we were still not expecting anything like this broom cupboard.
Yeah. And the weirdest thing about that is the fact that we're not like underground or anywhere. There could be windows.
Yeah.
But they just chose not to
They
do
don't
that.
want anyone seeing in. Like, they don't want anyone to know what's behind this door.
Why there was a strange doorway that looked like a cupboard leading onto the bar being blocked off by a table, I'm not sure. All I know is that I was joking about anything interesting being behind there, thinking it was storage, and then to see tons of spooky rooms as soon as I opened it was hilarious.
A secret door. That is insane.
We finally asked some staff if we were able to go into the courtyard, but after some supervisors got involved, it was clear they weren't going to let us. But we thought it may be open tomorrow morning, or at least a different supervisor would be on shift that might just have a different answer. After we'd seen most of the hotel, we decided to turn in for the night before we came back outside at 3 AM to summon an entity. I'm looking for liminal space entities that we can summon, and it says that liminal creatures are considered seals, crabs, shorebirds, frogs, bats, dolphins, and whales. So you want to spawn in a whale? The lobby provided a free toothbrush and baby toothpaste upon request too, coming in this sleek box. At the time I thought this was quite charming and representative of their futuristic, if you can call it that, aesthetic, but now I realise I'm just filming some toothpaste. 3 AM. No, I'm sorry, I'm not stooping to the 3 AM challenge level. But now that it's morning, let's see what the courtyard looks like. Will there be any more natural light? Well, you can see here that the courtyard still seems pretty dim. The blue lights are still turned on, but there does seem to be a little bit more light from the skylight above the main lobby perhaps. If anything though, it makes the courtyard look more scary. It starts off bright and then slowly fades into darkness and obscurity. The courtyard was still not open though, so we waited for another worker to be on shift and asked them. After speaking with someone at the front desk, they said they would be able to call security and see if they were free to take us onto the courtyard, and they said yes. We were so excited considering that yesterday we had no chance. We would be able to get the dream shot of both of us on the grass, and then another one of us on the balcony looking down at the other one, stuck forever in time in the courtyard. A fully suited security guard escorted us back up to the first floor, and then we walked over to the gate. And then he said he can't actually take us on the courtyard because he doesn't have the key card. So he basically thought we just wanted to go back up to the first floor and take pictures from the places that we already had been this whole time. Oh well, he was a super chill guy, super nice. It did make me wish I just ran on there beforehand and get kicked out for the footage or something, but whatever. We got to experience the real Liminal Hotel, still right there. But we still needed to find out what was in that black box, so we headed up to the top floor. Yeah, it was pretty much just like a vent or something, but I bet there were some hidden monsters just behind there. We also got to get up close with this weird rail that went around the entire main hall, which was really bizarre. It looks like a massive curtain could go all the way around or something, which is very mysterious. An explanation I could think of was that it's an attachment for window cleaners to go around on, cleaning all the bedroom windows. In any case, just look at how high up this platform is. Tell me that doesn't look absolutely surreal, being so high up on a glowing blue platform above these freaky ass windows. Man, I just want to know what this architect was thinking when he made this. What was his vision? Overall, looking at our checklist, I'll give the Terminal 4 Holiday Inn a 7.3 out of 10. After a weird and odd stay at the Terminal 4 Holiday Inn without actually travelling anywhere, it's time to go to our next liminal space. Westfield's Stratford City, on the complete other side of London, where we'll be trying to sneak into some cinema backrooms and see if we can find a completely empty shopping mall. But on the way, we noticed a place just below a bridge we were crossing that looked quite ominous, an abandoned highway with blocks of concrete spaced throughout, covered in graffiti. We eventually found a way down to the road, and as we got closer, it was clear the space was being used as some free space for cars and bikes to drift around, and graffiti asked us to come and have fun. Straight away, it ticked off a lot of the boxes on our checklist. It's clearly an intermediate area, and being on an empty highway on foot, especially with weird geometric objects placed around, definitely subverts expectations, and the location being close to another major motorway and an East London hotspot, yet tucked away, definitely feels isolating and weirdly tranquil too. The familiarity of a highway was there, but being out of a vehicle on foot and walking through these concrete blocks was of course noticeably distinct. It was fascinating to see all the graffiti and even find some pocket change on one of the concrete blocks. It made me want to leave a little trinket or something somewhere for you guys to come and hunt down, but I didn't have anything good on me. I did lose a pair of glasses here though, so if anyone finds that, you will be greatly rewarded. I can't say that it felt particularly nostalgic though, being a road, but there's definitely potential to an uncanny feeling and a paranormal feeling. So I decided to come back a week or so later with my other friend Han, just as sunset was turning into dusk, to see what the atmosphere would be like.
Smoking on Scooby-Doo dick. We smoking Sequoia Banshee boogers. We snorting that good Buffalo Soldier Tamarind Jordanian jimmies.
This was the exact moment where I must have dropped my glasses, by the way, but they were really nowhere to be seen. But yeah, the dim lighting definitely made it a bit more eerie, and it was really fun to just skate around, feeling like you're floating around in between these blocks. For some people, it could even look like a video game map or level. To me though, I think it wasn't quite enough of a paranormal eerie feeling. I think that just the fact of the graffiti alone made it obvious a lot of people visit there. Still a pretty cool area though, and I had a lot of fun on these days filming. Overall, I'd give it a 6.886 out of 10. The surrounding area was quite interesting as well though, with some structures that could be turned into some kind of narrative. In the near distance too, you could see some new build houses that looked oddly flat and symmetrical, ones we hadn't seen before. So we went to investigate, as these soulless, repetitive houses are literally noted on the Liminal Spaces wiki, where the film Vivarium is referenced as a popular film that notes the phenomena of liminal spaces. To clarify, these aren't the houses in Vivarium, but it's that same kind of copy-pasted, repetitive, flat housing.
It's always like new builds and things that are trying to look like homes but doing the cheap way to become liminal. Dude, I'm getting super liminal vibes over there. I gotta take myself to this.
For real though, I can force myself to see the appeal in these designs. It is there if you look for it, but similarly to the Terminal 4 Holiday Inn, there's just no human charm. The crazy part is, because of the location in Stratford, these houses are likely worth millions each, and we'll get into that more later.
Is it a lot of space? Do you have all this?
I think so. There's only one door. Three floors. And look how high the ceilings are as well.
Okay, so as soon as we get to see how deep it is, then we're like, you know.
That's true, the cross section.
Let's see. Oh. It's pretty good.
Oh, it goes further back as well, on the bottom.
Oh, now let's see if it has a garden.
And it has a garden, yeah.
Let's go.
How much, look how nice that one is. How much does that cost?
These ones are quite comfy.
Yeah.
Because these are something you see, you know, map. Oh, let's see, okay. What's over here? Oh, okay, don't I thought.
One interesting accidental find, but now it's time to try and find an empty shopping mall. But how is that possible? What's the plan? The empty shopping mall is one of the more iconic liminal visuals, but how can we do that without working in a mall and going there after hours? See, quite a few people get to see this mall empty every day already, after the shops have been closed, because the cinema stays open longer than the rest of the mall. I'll go into Westfield Shopping Centre at a late but busy hour, around 6 or 7, and stand in a place with a decent view of people. Check. I'll record some before footage of the busy mall for a before and after shot, and then I'll head up for a late viewing at the cinema, come back to the same spot afterwards and get more footage of the mall when it's empty. Yeah, so I went to too early of a screening really. There were still quite a few people wandering about, and as you can see, that cleaning guy was going by in a cart. There was still some good footage out of it, but you know, it wasn't exactly quite as isolated as I'd hoped. Although when I've come out at a screening at like 1 AM or something, it has been completely empty and a bit more eerie. Even if it is eerie to see the mall in its liminal state, you really just have to suspend your disbelief. You do get that liminal feeling in real life when you go, but it won't transfer to the camera anyway. But you know what? Just because this feeling is actually quite strong when this happens to you personally and naturally, when you come out of a late cinema screening, I'd say this still gets like a 4.5 out of 10. But for this next one, it's time to literally go across the globe, so hang tight. The Red Library. This next liminal space actually made the top 10 liminal spaces by Bored Panda. The shiny red walls just look surreal, just wrong looking. People in the comments make references to the Shining Hotel, commenting things like red rum, insinuating that the walls are somehow coated in blood. It almost looks like someone has removed textures of everything and replaced it with one shiny red texture. You immediately ask the question, what's around that corner? What's up those stairs? And why is there a security camera? Well, this hallway is actually in the Seattle Public Library, so when I flew over there with Shawk and the Watch Show for the fixed TF2 Valve book project they were working on, I thought it would be awesome to check it out. But we only had like 15 minutes to get in and out of there. We dashed in and found out that it was on the 4th floor, so took the elevator up, and right away, as soon as the door opened, all you could see was red. Like I said, we were in a rush and there were lots of people around, so I couldn't get the footage of the door opening, which is really annoying, but it's awesome. And it turns out the entire floor is red. There were other people filming what seemed like some kind of music video, and there was this giant window looking out onto the incredible giant library. There was writing on the walls next to numbered rooms. I think they were for studying or practicing music, but I can't remember because of the rush. But eventually, we got to the exact location of the image.
Oh, it's here, it's here. Oh my god. I want to climb up there.
Yeah, seeing that space you aren't meant to go to gave it that curious, kind of fear of the unknown feeling. Well, not fear in this case, but I just really want to know what's up there. And while we have the checklist up, it definitely subverts expectations compared to the rest of the library. You really have to suspend your disbelief with this one though to get immersed, considering how busy it is and how the image is pretty much the only angle you can be in where it feels like you're enclosed in this red space. It does have that uncanny feeling though, and I don't know how. There's nothing to replicate it being a homely place or anything, but it somehow brought up the same uncanny valley feeling. Maybe it was that disconnected feeling, or this weird hole in the wall subverting expectation even more. And as it's a hallway, it's definitely transitional. And it was really fun to visit this place with these guys. In fact, The What is actually releasing a video where he went on a trip to visit the original location of the real Backrooms, so definitely go and check that out. When it was revealed where the Backrooms were actually from, I started to DM The What about it because I knew that he'd be able to go and visit, and it's what gave me the idea for this video, so yeah, it was awesome that this kind of was full circle. And the fact that we got to go to this space as well, which is awesome. Overall, I'd give the Red Library Hall a 4 out of 10. It's an awesome space. I mean, the library as a whole is spectacular and very intriguing. It's such a cool design, but with the mystery of the unknown being broken and it being in such a public space, it just didn't have that feeling we associate with liminal spaces. The Indoor Market Village. The Indoor Market Village, despite what you might expect from its slightly more dated appearance, is literally just across the road from the gigantic Westfields Mall. It's a peculiar and unconventional yet charming market that's been operating for over 30 years, a compact indoor area full of independent businesses ranging from fresh fruit to full meals, hairdressers, tech and clothes. It's a small sectioned off area inside another shopping mall itself, the Stratford Centre. It's kind of like a mini mall within a mall. I've actually visited this space already as a child. I remember the light being almost completely off aside from harsh white lights leaking out from all the stalls. Because it's essentially a complex of smaller hallways with a mismatch of many different shops, as a kid it kind of felt like you could easily get lost in there, and despite it being quite busy, it had a very eerie atmosphere. Shiny dark walls in low light with hard to understand organisation made it feel like a maze. It's not like any of these shops were particularly out of the ordinary, but they seemed peculiar too, almost ending up as a product of their environment. I mean, just look at this advert from only 6 years ago. That feels like it could be a parody. I'm excited to return after many years to see what it's like now. But before we do, there's some information about this strange property that makes it even more special that we're able to actually visit it. Stratford Centre was built in 1974, one of the first major shopping centres in the area, and the Market Village was introduced as part of the Stratford City Development Programme. You see, as you know, literally across the street from Stratford Centre, Westfield Shopping Centre was set to open in 2011 for the Olympics in the UK the following year. Stratford was chosen as the area for the Olympics as it was quite deprived and poor relative to other parts of London. There was an iconic eyesore referred to as Fridge Mountain, believed to be the biggest collection of discarded white goods in the whole of Europe. And a significant amount of the land was previously manufacturing centres for chemicals and processed foods. $4 billion was spent on uplifting the area to give it as many state-of-the-art facilities, amenities, shops, leisure and services you could imagine, which created a return of $7.3 billion of gross value added and 160,000 job years of employment. An incredible boom for the local economy, completely transforming derelict, forgotten areas.
If you're coming to the Olympics next year, this is the entrance, and if you're arriving by train or tube, the only way to get here is by walking straight through the shopping centre, meaning approximately 7 million people coming through here, every single one of them a potential extra customer.
There was certainly a massive positive influence to Stratford and surrounding areas because of it, with increased customers, standard of living and jobs. Of course, areas increasing in value have its major downsides though, and communities alongside cultures can be displaced or even lost in some cases. So the idea of giving Stratford Centre a refurbishment which contains the Indoor Market Village and all of the independent businesses across the street from a soon-to-be corporate retail giant Westfields was a refreshing and optimistic decision to try and keep the community that exists in the area alive and be able to integrate into the local economy more, hopefully preventing them from being kicked out as land prices skyrocket after all the developments the Olympics brought to the local area. Unfortunately, despite this effort, amongst many other similar decisions, on the 12th of January 2024, Newham Recorder reported that Stratford Centre confirmed the Market Village to be closing imminently, as the company that owned the market space was going into administration. Dozens of traders were now out of business. Over 60 traders were told to vacate the premises without any warning.
How much notice were you given?
About half an hour, and that was it, closing time.
We didn't receive any letters, any correspondence whatsoever. We were just told if you want your belongings to come in tomorrow, you've got a 3-hour slot basically to come and take your stuff.
I've still got £30,000 worth of equipment still in the shop.
Stratford Centre still existed with independent traders, but this unique gem with such vivid personality and appreciation from locals was lost, and it could be indicating other similar losses of the local community that we could potentially see in the future. The local council promised to aid those affected, and petitions were started almost immediately. But with similar occurrences happening not just in Stratford, but all over neighbouring areas, there was not much hope of any change.
That's a shame. When I lived in Stratford, I liked going for cheap full English breakfasts at one of the cafes in there. Missed that proper working class feeling. Hard to get in London these days.
Which meant that no one expected what was to come. Following a cabinet vote on April 2nd, 2024, after a massive response from the community, Newham Council decided to take on a 15-year lease of Market Village. £700,000 was spent on supporting the market for 1 year as a trial period, giving the market a second chance. After the first year, the council will either cancel the contract or let it have the full 15-year term. Owners of a cafe in the market said, "It means so much to regain our business of over 20 years back and be able to connect with our customers which we've missed over the past 3 stressful months." So now that we know the backstory of this unique market and how privileged we are to be able to go and visit again after it's shutting, let's see what it's like today. It wasn't as dark as I remember, but I think you can immediately see exactly what I mean. The shiny black floor combined with the pale yellow paint and grated ceilings is such an odd combination, and the collection of so many different types of shops together just subverts expectation massively. You have no idea what's going to be around the next corner, no idea what the next store will be selling. The sheer assortment of food from different countries is incredible. Seeing how different cultures present their businesses seems more vibrant in this environment. You see businesses from all over the world, everywhere outside in the world, varying in quality, price and presentation, but in this odd complex, it feels like these stores are frozen in time, especially when the building is a bit run down, considering it was created in the 70s.
There's a fantastic and busy nail salon there, an awesome and thriving Colombian restaurant, Filipino supermarket, classic fish and chips on all sorts. Generally a lovely, safe, diverse, but worn down place.
You can see in this footage that every turn is completely different. There's a palm reading room towards the end of a small hallway, but then right at the end, you take a turn and you're suddenly in the back of a dining area. Strange alcoves and doors with mismatched windows just scream the exact things we're looking for on the liminal checklist. Check out these clocks, man. So many eccentric designs, but also clocks that look like they should have been from decades ago. Seeing icons from the 50s and 60s now makes you feel like you're in an intergalactic space and time auction selling Earth merchandise from across history. If you weren't alive for a significant amount of these trapped pockets in time, rather than nostalgia, you'll be seeing the world through a perspective that you're not familiar with, something that seems alien to you. It's generations you've never experienced, or perhaps you have nostalgia from visiting places like this yourself, where there are outdated products and designs around, but maybe those places did close down, or that stock isn't around anymore. It's not quite the same as just visiting a charity shop or an antique store. The air of frozen time in this place can be nostalgic to almost anyone. When I mentioned earlier that in Liminal Space Images there's something that misses the mark in some way, making the image feel uncanny, I think it's worth mentioning that this is extremely pertinent here, yet it's a tricky subject to navigate. The graphic designs on a lot of the shops are far from modern or polished, and this disconnect, especially right next to the hyper-modern Westfields with huge flashing lights and constant demands for your gaze, is especially noticeable. The stock images and dated graphics give an air of a different perception of reality, looking more like shops from the 90s or early 2000s in a lot of cases. That disconnect in some way alienates the human experience because, for example, we've seen things like this so much and are from such a specific era of early digital design that we no longer associate that with reality, or at least modern reality. They feel familiar because they're like the adverts we saw as kids, but they're still around here in the Market Village. That is what's difficult though. Shops with these designs are associated more with relatively poorer areas. Businesses might not have the budget or time to update these designs, and the idea of that being the case and then going around treating that unique disconnect as a novel liminal experience in a way that just alienates it, it just seems out of touch. That extends even further when considering the foreign ownership of these places. An individual perception of anything seeming alien or exotic to that individual is an amazing experience, and why people from all over the world love to travel so much. You can see the world through the eyes of a different culture, a different population, and a different environment, and it's beautiful. There's a wide range of cultures and nationalities in this market, so it's true here too to a lesser degree. Even the layout of the market feels like one you might see in Asia.
I find these kind of stores more interesting than usual shopping centres because of the variety of the small stores. Kind of reminds me of the Asian market shopping centres.
Where it turns strange for me is when people turn this genuine, very real existence of culture that intersects with foreign countries and economic status and then aestheticize it. It's a fine line of finding creativity and curious experiences from novel and differing angles of other places, but aestheticizing that in a certain way just feels wrong and reductive. Reducing a nationality or economic standing to an aesthetic just seems short-sighted without any further consideration. That aside, it's awesome to appreciate and experience the bizarre existence of an indoor market with peculiar architectural choices from the 70s, with a rich and alluring combination of so many unique shops, and noticing that recognizing dated graphic design and being immersed in it feels a bit like a time capsule, and of seeing so many different cultures together almost forces you to almost recalibrate the perception and lens you see the world through yourself. The owners probably don't really care about the graphic design, and neither do the regular consumers. People know that they can get the services they want and enjoy at a quality they savor. The graphic design isn't what is drawing customers in, it's the actual community connection and long-term engagement with their local community that's keeping the economy strong. In terms of the paranormal, you could easily come up with some stories or something sinister lurking behind one of the rundown doors after hours, but there's nothing concrete. There is a palm reading shop, which if real is certainly magical, but that isn't exactly the debate I want to dwell on. There is definitely something just outside of Market Village though, that combines the spiritual with the bizarre. A line of meditation pods. Especially in this old mall, nothing could be more both fitting and out of place at the same time. These are relatively new to the mall, yet again, the graphic design and what the machines are claiming to do are completely surreal. You see regular massage chairs in other malls, which are essentially the same thing. Why were these insane pods chosen instead for this mall? They claim to be a bionic massager that helps you connect with your quantum field, annihilating fungus, bacteria, viruses, boasting a permanent disinfection up to 10M3, whatever that is. Pressotherapy. I've never seen so many buzzwords in one place. This machine looks like satire referencing dumb early 2000 scams. Yeah, I only noticed these after the pandemic, but hey, maybe I'm hating. Meditation has been scientifically proven to have major benefits that I've noticed myself, and I love massage chairs. Maybe I'm being negative. There's only one thing I can do. Try it.
Oh my god, I'm going down. Holy shit.
I've never experienced a worse massage in my life. It was actually painful. Metal from the mechanism was just prodding into me at high speeds, and the shaking was disgusting.
Shaking. Shaking.
I think I doubled the bacteria and fungus on my body just going into that thing. There were ambient binaural beats that were undeniably doing absolutely nothing on those awful speakers, and what I can only describe as an angry cyborg man yelling at me to relax.
Come on, we're moving it up. I'm gonna you high. Feel it. Come on. It lives in you. Let the life force move in you. Feel it. Let the creative energy rise in you. Come on, we're taking it home. What do you got? Come on.
There was also the most unhinged message at the top of the pod. The universe conspires in your favor. You are the creator. The most paranormal thing about this is how someone can create something so uncomfortable when they're setting out to make something that's so relaxing that it's therapeutic. It's a complete money grab if they're even managing to turn a profit. And choosing to put this type of massage chair here, what does that say about what they think the demographic is like here? But wow, definitely a fun novel experience altogether though. I've been to Stratford Centre countless times, but it was fun to engage in this way and try to look at it through this lens. Even going to the toilet revealed liminal-like architecture. I mean, just look at this hallway. The shiny tiles are so similar to other liminal space images or even video game engines, and looks especially eerie on this
secret handheld camera.
Considering the scores, I'll give Indoor Market Village a score of 7 out of 10. It's an incredibly unique place to experience, but it wasn't exactly too spooky. I'll leave another video with a more linear look around the market in the description if you want to see more. But let's move on to the final liminal space we'll be visiting this episode, a shutdown cinema. This cinema is actually coincidentally located less than a 5-minute walk from the Indoor Market Village, passing through Stratford Centre once again. I was actually going to include Stratford Centre itself as a liminal space, because up until August of 2021, the long halls of the mall were actually used as a 24-hour public footpath. You used to be able to enter the mall after hours, exactly in that liminal transitional period, where all the stores were shut. You could see skateboarders and roller skaters zooming around and hanging out. The fact it was a whole building completely sheltered from the outside meant that it was more than just a footpath. It was also a space for homeless and vulnerable people to sleep. YouTubers like The Hack have even stayed overnight here while doing the Homeless in London challenge in 2018 to showcase where you could find free food and shelter in the city. During the COVID pandemic, due to concern about safety, antisocial behaviour and crime, the decision was made to close access to the footpaths overnight. That meant that every homeless person that was relying on Stratford Centre for shelter or for a place to sleep no longer had it, and they were forced outside. It turns out though that forcing the homeless people out of this area was actually a net benefit, however. Apparently, social care services were able to engage positively with a significant amount of rough sleepers who previously were reluctant to do so. The council says this played a hugely positive role in its plans to tackle rough sleeping in the borough, as it had a public health approach. It's interesting that forcing people out of an area would actually push them to get help more, something I wouldn't have expected. I guess people could have just left the area entirely and not get help, but anyway, I thought it was interesting, but it was a bit of a tangent, so let's keep going. The final potential liminal space is Stratford Picture House. This iconic cinema was designed by Burrell Foley Fisher and opened in 1997, also as part of a project to try and regenerate this formerly rundown area of East London. The unique, angular and distinct striking modern Art Deco architecture won a Civic Trust commendation, was shortlisted for the Reiber Award for Architecture in 1997, and won the National Drywall Award for innovative use of materials. The detached cinema held such a strong style and character that not only does it give the atmosphere of significance, which is perfect for any liminal space theories or stories, but the charm of the architecture lends itself well to imagery and set building, especially in the direction of retro or nostalgia and horror, with a building that was built in 1997 being so strongly correlated to an era in which, or after which, many of us grew up within. I won't pretend like this final area isn't self-indulgent for myself though. This cinema has now closed down, and it was my childhood cinema. After a lot of trying to contact the right people, I was finally given a small amount of time to film all over the public areas of the cinema, on the very final day that the cinema was open. The light blue colours with an Art Deco style, slanted walls with natural lights, outjogged windows and alcoves, all give the whole building a slightly surreal aura. Pair that with the feeling of walking out of a long film as a kid and adjusting to the real world again, and you have an undeniably unique experience, which is kind of similar to that hallway feeling we mentioned previously. It was a cinema beloved by hundreds if not thousands of people, but for the last 13 years you could definitely notice a fairly steady decline as the Picture House struggled to compete with the View Cinema in Westfields, eventually leading to the 2024 shutdown due to increased operational costs and declining admissions. You'd see the bar and cafe upstairs get quieter and quieter until it was pretty much unstaffed the majority of the time. The classic box office at the front stopped being used even 10 years ago. But up until the end, it still felt like more personable of an experience than a lot of chains, especially in London. You could take home the older movie adverts, posters and cutouts. They sold local artist work on the walls upstairs, and the hand-drawn chalkboards didn't completely reek of corporate insincerity. There was a section allocated for kids' birthdays now completely empty, and only one service desk was in use. Definitely full of nostalgia on my end. Here was where me and my friend were practically crying from being scared of Coraline. Here's the old kiosk where I dared another friend to eat a Haribo with nacho cheese. The alleyway where, more often than not, a guy would try to sell you clearly stolen Beats headphones. Aside from that though, I hope you can appreciate how perfect this building is as an environment for a liminal horror. If not, I hope that at least this footage can be savoured by anyone else who enjoyed coming to the cinema. Nobody knows what the owner of this building will turn it into. Flats? Another cinema perhaps? Only time will tell. Until then, the building will remain in its closed, transitional, liminal state. I was really hoping to get a look at the projector rooms, backrooms, or the old box office, but I'm still extremely grateful to be able to capture some of this footage, even if I couldn't find out what that weird room isolated on top of the building was. Overall, I'd give Stratford Picture House a 6.7 out of 10 for liminalness. With this video, I was hoping to find some kind of connection between how liminal spaces come about and connect to our real world, and possibly something that we could learn from that. That's why I focused on some history and tried to look into the origin of these spaces. But on one hand, seeing these kinds of spaces in person, grounded in reality, removes the isolation or potential paranormal that appears from the unknown in the original images, leaving your imagination to fill in the gaps, allowing uneasy feelings of uncertainty to create an eerie atmosphere, or can even start to create stories about the image. We all know that there's a bit of suspense of disbelief with these kinds of images, and that so many places all around us could be turned into a liminal space with the right lighting, camera, composition, and maybe a creepy file name. On the other hand, there's a couple of major things that did stand out in these locations that are also in these famous images. A disconnect from natural humanity or experience. Whether it's from isolation from people, designs without soul, or being trapped in some capacity from the outside world, time, or location. It's open to interpretation, but I personally think this calls to a fear of disconnect from a truly human experience and a whole life lived. When you look at the images that are uncanny, trying to replicate nature or humanity, especially in this one about a care home, the fear is no longer being able to experience those things we associate with life anymore, detracting from what brings us joy and ultimately makes us feel alive. The feeling of wind or sun on our skin, moving our bodies and navigating outdoor space, and the ability to explore this and have fun with others. We should all know to value this, and we do. We try and be grateful and remain mindful, but it's hard to stay consistent with feeling this every day and not getting caught up in distractions from what we're ultimately fighting for. This experience of existing in the present while that's still enjoyable, which aids to solve our issues that we're so often trying to distract ourselves from, avoiding the present, and not letting ourselves feel truly alive or lucid. I could discuss that at length, but this video has gone on for long enough. If you do struggle with this sort of thing though, and it stood out, I'll leave a Word document full of science-backed habits that, if done consistently, will help you strengthen gratitude and mindfulness for the present moment to reduce detachment, help improve focus, mood and energy, which you can use to create a pragmatic future instead of dwelling, which hopefully will absolve some of that fear that we get, that I think, personally, is a huge part of liminal spaces. So if you do want to see more of this, do let me know in the comments and subscribe. Thank you for watching. This is obviously a different video, but I really hope you enjoyed. If we do another video, I will definitely try and visit more famous places instead of like these places that I think could be liminal. Yeah, but have a great day.